Okay, it's Pat again. This is a follow-up video to the one I made the other day on the birth of the universe, and trying to tackle the question of how the first event could happen without the concept of time. Now, I'm going to play a couple of videos, YouTube videos, or excerpts from them. The first one is by Richard Dawkins, and explaining his view on God and why creationists are shooting themselves in the foot, as he puts it. His view is a Darwinian approach, where the birth of the universe must have come from a simple or chaotic state and then graduated into something complex. Anyway, let's just play that video and we'll see what he says.
If the alternative that's being offered to what physicists now talk about, a big bang, a spontaneous singularity which gave rise to the origin of the universe, if the alternative to that is a divine intelligence, a creator, which would have to have been complicated, statistically improbable, the very kind of thing which scientific theories such as Darwin's exists to explain, then immediately we see that however difficult and apparently inadequate the theory of the physicists is, the theory of the theologians that the first cause was a complicated intelligence is even more difficult to accept. They're both difficult, but the theory of the cosmic intelligence is even worse. What Darwinism does is to raise our consciousness to the power of science to explain the existence of complex things, and intelligences and creative intelligences are above all complex things. They're statistically improbable. Darwinism raises our consciousness to the power of science to explain how such entities, and the human brain is one, how such entities can come into existence from simple beginnings. However difficult those simple beginnings may be to accept, they are a whole lot easier to accept than complicated beginnings. Complicated things come into the universe late, as a consequence of slow, gradual, incremental steps.
Okay, well, the first thing I noticed is that he's associating the term Darwinism, which is stems from biology, really, to the birth of the universe. So he's talking about Darwinism in the sense of an evolution of, or gradual change, or slow incremental changes over time. Now, it's interesting that he says that, because and he's talking about the Big Bang. Now, as we know, the Big Bang was something that was made clear to us by Hawking and Roger Penrose. Roger Penrose is a brilliant scientist, and lately Roger has come up with a few different types of alternative explanations to the birth of the universe, and one of them is his cyclic model, where he feels that the universe may have been a series of belong to a series of universes that come and go. But it's very interesting in this next clip what he has to say about what Richard Dawkins is talking about. Richard Dawkins is suggesting that the universe started off simple. Let's listen to what Penrose himself says.
And what you find is that the universe, if you go down into the Big Bang, backwards in time until you get into the Big Bang, you find that the geometry of that Big Bang is something extraordinarily special. Now, I have to say that this is one of the big mysteries of the universe. You say the Big Bang started everything off. Well, the Big Bang, you say, well, you just give up. I mean, it's this completely chaotic state and so on. But it's not completely chaotic. It's highly organized, highly ordered. Now, this is an observational fact.
Well, how do you prove that, what you've just told me?
That it's highly ordered?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, how do you prove any of it?
It's a feature of what's known as the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics basically tells us that the universe gets more and more random as time goes on. And this, if you might say, there's nothing puzzling about that. It's just things just get more and more random. But if you go back in time, what does that mean? It means things get more and more organized, more and more and more and more organized. So at the Big Bang, you had an extraordinarily organized state. And the puzzle is, why was that initial state of the universe, in the conventional view, so highly organized? And
well, it almost prompts the question, who organized
Well, some people would put it that way, but I'd prefer to look at things in a scientific view, because there's so many ordered issues which are of a sort of mathematical nature. And again, one can even give a figure to how organized this is. If you want to say how special was that initial state? Well, suppose I say that the degree of specialness can be measured by 1 part in 10 to the 10 to the 10. There's so many numbers. 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. How many zeros is that? Well, the number of zeros would have to be at least 10 to the power 123. That's an absolutely ridiculously huge number. Now, how did the universe start off in such an extraordinary special state? Now, none of the theories that I've seen that have been put forward explain that.
Okay, so if we are to believe the views of Roger Penrose there, then in one fell swoop he's demolished the argument of Richard Dawkins trying to use Darwinism or a Darwinistic approach to explain the origin of the universe. The second law of thermodynamics shows us that the universe is actually becoming more chaotic as time goes by, not less. The other thing too is that he's trying to basically argue from the laws of physics and drawing really on arguments from biology as well, in trying to say that you cannot account for God. It's pretty clear that whatever created this universe, natural cause or intelligent design of some kind, it's clearly beyond us. It's beyond our reasoning powers, because we can only reason within the laws of physics, and anything that preceded, or anything that is responsible for the birth of the universe, preceded the laws of physics, and trying to explain that is futile. So I'll leave you with a quote from Hawking, and I'd love to hear your comments.